What? Who is Browns? You said this is us. Like for that new person trying to find maybe their way or the image or the branding they're wanting to use in their store.
That's a great question. And we've talked a ton about this yesterday and the last couple of days, because this is, Browns is so unique in this fashion where it's the owner in the store in the town is Browns, and we've all been in several stores, either training or owning and operating, and there's no comparison of when Ben went to Algona and we bought Hutzel's and he operated that store versus his store now, or in my case, Alva, Oklahoma to Fort Dodge, Iowa. It's hard to even compare, right? The what is us sometimes, because in Alva we were straight, Justin Ropers and Red Wing boots and also super fancy ladies dress stuff and the southern at that time, and there was a bigger difference of product south to north, and then Fort Dodge is we're blue collar, lace up boots type of place, and so my deal is in Fort Dodge completely different than Ben's down there, but lot of like who is Brown Shoe Fit? It's definitely upper end footwear, full service, care about the customer experience the most, right there with the crew, right. So, but then I don't know, and maybe that's just experience and being around the company so long that when you're in that parking lot, you can kind of feel it or envision it. But I kind of geek out. I geek out on that.
When you're in the parking lot of the biggest mall in the state, it does not feel like us.
Yeah, and maybe
is the best way to describe it. Like, we all wanted to be in Des Moines somewhere, and then you think of Des Moines shopping, you think of the mall areas. Well, when you really dive into it, there's a ton of awesome retail serving the actual Des Moines community in the middle, and that felt more like us.
Love that.
And we're at 72 locations and in 112 years and never been in a mall.
Right.
So then so that doesn't feel like us if we're in a mall parking lot
right.
And we've never done it before. And
that's true.
And we love that. We love that.
Food court would be nice.
Food court. How about an escalator in a coffee shop?
Yeah, I will have that.
I love that dream. That's my favorite.
So going into that location in West Des Moines, from day one to now, growing your business is why I wanted to bring you on, because you've done that very well. If you would maybe walk us through that thought process day one, and even before that, getting ready to open that store, what your plan was, to even how it's evolved. And I want to ask both of you too, and take your turns on this question, but where you are now, you can look back and both of your journeys, because now viewers, listeners know the complete journey. Like if you knew, if you knew then what you know now, maybe what would you keep? What would you not do? Take us through that. That's a loaded question. This will take us a while to unpack, but would love to hear, because I think that could help some people starting out.
I'll give a crack at it first.
So,
I think just to start out, like, how did you build it? My intention of going to Des Moines was to be our number one store, right? Like that's what I had my eyes on. That's this is our state, right? This state belongs to this company, and this town is the only thing missing. So let's make it the store. So putting those numbers on paper is one thing, and then how do you get there, right, is the other. And I would say there's no real magic to it. Like, I'm no better than anyone else, but the magic is putting the numbers on paper, reversing the math to make it a reality of what has to happen to make that volume happen. And then that's the standard. Like, you go from $3,300 day is a good day. And then you start doing that consistently, and then that gets you $1 million. 66 gets you $2 million. 99 gets you $3 million. So those are the standards. So when the second Tuesday of a month comes and you're not doing 10 grand, you're not on pace to do the volume you want to do. Sounds too simple. So to back it up even more, then every decision you make in the budget of that month, in the marketing, in what you're going to spend, has to be a realistic version of the highest volume you think you can get at that time. That's
good.
Yeah. And I don't want to overcomplicate it because it is not hard. It is just believing in the numbers, and that's the amount of effort you have to put in. And there's a lot more that comes with it as you get it, but it is that simple at its core. But you got to use Craig's. I mean, you got to build the business inside of there while you're doing that. But marketing wise, we teach in Browns 3 to 5%. I think we teach 3 to 5%, and so I am set at 5%, and that's 5% of a 20% increase over last year's volume that month. So I almost set my expenses up to where I have to stay on pace with the growth.
Do you almost do that to challenge yourself, to keep you accountable to it?
Yeah, otherwise
is there part of that?
I get bored.
Yeah.
I was gonna interrupt earlier when you were talking about Newton days, even, right? And and we've talked a lot the last, again, a couple of days, and you've mentioned it, and Cammie just crushed this topic at Core Show, and I think it's something we can continue to talk about is because we're so optimistic, right? And especially grinders and growers, and you have big goals, you have big vision. And that's the optimism that most retailers have, most good retailers have. But then and you've said the word, I don't know how many times, the realistic and the realism. And then that's where you've done such a great job of diving into the numbers, knowing the numbers. You used that last year plus 20% growth pattern for your guide and also a push, right, to challenge yourself. And you're year 5, so you've been hitting that, and you know your market better than anybody, and the opportunity down there. So I just wanted to throw in that optimistic but realistic.
Yes.
And sometimes we can, as again, we want to grow and we want to grow fast. Sometimes we can get that out of balance, and again, I think that topic, the next 2 to 5 years and on, I think we can kind of hang our hat on that and continue to push and grow, but then let's be realistic too, right?
What's the difference between, like, when is that point where someone should go from optimistic, from realistic, or is it always a thing that hangs in the balance? Because at least for me, I'm optimistic going into a situation. I think I can do something. Is it more like a timeline or a deadline you give yourself to say, and I don't even know where I'm going with this,
right.
but hopefully you,
like, how do you determine what is realistic?
Yeah, like for you too, like okay, I'm optimistic, I'm going in, I'm trying these things, but it's not working. At what point do you say, okay, it's not going to work?
Yeah, when it doesn't work, right? Like we talked about the failure piece, and you said earlier, like, all of our lessons in failure are fantastic lessons. They're better than absolutely. And we could have a whole segment just on failure and how powerful it is. And so in my mind, and again, some of this is Dad in the back of the brain. And every time I call him, I don't care what topic it is or what is crashing apart in my world. He finds an optimistic view of everything. So for me, it's super natural, it's super easy, and I'm very, very optimistic, I would say, with almost everything. We all get kicked and we all get punched, and where it stings and hurts, but very quickly, most very optimistic people find the good and almost find passion in it,
Yeah.
But then for me, the realistic is like the cliff, right? Like I'm fine hanging my toes over the cliff of situations, whether it's financial or taking on that expense because I'm very confident, very optimistic that I can cover it plus some eventually.
Yeah.
But I don't, it's, I think to me, it's that it's what are your goals? What are you willing to do for reaching your goals? And then that's where the work comes in. But it's a yin and yang, and it's I contradict myself constantly. And
I do too. But
too.
I think that 20% volume increase mark is about as high as you should plan. Like anything above that becomes a little dangerous, because even if you if you flatline and you've reversed your budget to where your 20% gain gets you a 10% return, and you flatline, you still don't lose money.
I love it. Yeah,
And
it's
that-
aggressive, but it's
Have
less
a
risk.
safety net on the back end of just in case.
And it's like the brown shoe fit, who are we question. We're a pretty conservative group of business owners, and that's a great lesson. That's a great for the younger managers, younger owners to start getting their head around is. And you've had over 20% growth for sure. And, and what Jason went through out in Longmont, I mean, that's some major, major growth. It's super, super hard to manage and keep up with. So, 20% is a good number. But then, in Fort Dodge, I think our biggest gain year is maybe 18 I don't even know if I've hit it 20% truthfully, but more consistent, 10 to 15 to. So, I think it varies too on what that
and then if you
realistic number
budget
is.
for the 20% and your plan outperforms that, then you get the gravy of it instead of not. I mean, instead of not is the simple way of putting it, but you can outperform 20% if you really nail the marketing at that time. But why not benefit from it?
And that's where your number knowledge, the homework, the study you do on your numbers is so beneficial. Like, you got to know your numbers, right?
Oh, yeah, spreadsheet geek.
And he's
the sod budget.
He's the best at it.
For those watching,
that was me.
Came from this guy, so you have him to thank. You're welcome.
Learn it. You don't have to do it that way forever, but do it your own way after you learn what you're doing with it.
But the biggest lesson in that is know your numbers.
Yeah,
and
that's the lesson.
Know what your goal. If your goal's last year plus 20%, and you're figuring your marketing number, you can't just pull a number out of the air and figure it on last year plus 83%.
Right.
Because you're going to get sideways quick.
Right.
Yeah.
And do your budget for you.
Yes.
That's just a no-brainer. We're talking to the sod program, right?
Yeah.
So I think like you're going to see these things as you're going through the sod program. They are not a homework worksheet for you. They are just showing you the overall idea of how to budget your month, and then do it your way as long as you're doing it.
Yeah.
Don't do it for Adam.
Right. That is the main point, because we are owners at the end of the day. This is to help you make your business better, and the good ones are after the continuous pursuit of better. And we got on that subject past couple days, which is
consistently grow is a must.
It is that internal thing that drives me.
Mm-hmm.
You too, right?
Yeah.
You too.
Yeah, for sure.
Do you think that's just a thing across the board for those that are wondering how to get better? It's just that constant pursuit of better that is the driver. I guess the driver is probably different for everybody.
Yeah.
But, that is consistent through the great ones that I talk to.
Yeah, you can't teach the internal drive to get better. You can only teach the ones that want to get better, or teach or help or,
right.
Mentor and coach. And
you can't help someone get better that's content with where they're at.
Yeah, it's definitely an internal piece that, and everybody's different, you know, and everybody has different goals and desires, and you know, what I want, it doesn't really matter to what you want, you know, but we are talking to a group of business owners.
Yep.
So we just, some things we just assume, right, that they are driven. They do want to consistently grow. They're not happy with being mediocre. We get a scoreboard every week and every month, and you know, that's a driver. That was always a driver for me, to look good on paper, so to speak. You want to turn in good weeks and good months, and you want to make money for yourself, but you also want to compete on that weekly, monthly. Again,
For sure.
For sure.
That's just in my mind, coming into this, and if you're a new owner, like, I'm just going to assume that you want that too, because you gotta have some drive to do it.